Hello guys, I had quite a few people asking me to make a video on Cosmoline removal from the rifle. So I decided to make a quick tutorial video on how to pretty much remove all the Cosmoline from rifle within 30-45 minutes. It's pretty easy way. It does require lots of elbow grease, and it does require quite a bit of actual cleaning of the rifle. But of course, that's definitely understandable since Cosmoline is used to preserve the rifles for a long time. I mean, some of the rifles have been preserved in the Cosmoline for 70, 80 years, and that definitely helps them out. That they're not gonna rust on you, and it should be pretty much like they were the day when they were put in Cosmoline. So to start, pretty much first thing first is of course open up your new rifle. Get some towels. I like to use paper towels just because once you get towel with massive viscous malin, it's pretty much useless. I wouldn't even throw it in the washer and dryer after that. So just do a few quick swipes with a towel, just to get all the big pieces off from the outside of the rifle, and then of course start disassembling rifle. So in this case, we're disassembling a Mosin 9130 that I just picked up today. I've done quite a few Mosins before, so this is definitely not the first time for me. So first, of course, you gotta disassemble it, and then some of the parts gonna be pretty stuck well together. Like in my situation, the firing pin was just almost impossible to get through, so it took some twisting around to actually get the firing pin out, and then the guide rod I actually had to use pliers for that. So once all those were taken out, we pretty much continue disassembling. Once disassembling is done, boil some water. Use something pretty large. I'd suggest the biggest pot you have. Once the water is boiled, pour it into a bucket. I prefer to use metal buckets. It makes the cleanup very, very easy, and it's pretty easy to throw all the stuff in there. Use some sort of degreaser with oil. I mean, you can use Goo Gun, you can use brake cleaner, whatever. Just add a little bit in there and start throwing all of the parts in, including the barrel. Do not throw the wood in though, just the metal parts pretty much. So once everything is in, let it cook. While all of your parts, metal parts are cooking, get some stuff off the wood, get some cosmoline off of it. I use hot water and just paper towels to get all the big pieces out, and just try to get in creases, just wetten the towel in pretty hot water. I wouldn't say boiling, but pretty close to boiling. Once I do that, I actually use some oil once I get them dry, just to make sure that that wood like still stays pretty shiny. So here I'm actually like just cleaning all the creases, all the big parts, pretty much everywhere, inside and outside. Just because if you don't clean it all at the same time, then you're probably gonna miss some spots. Then once you go to range, rifle gets hot. You're gonna have all the sticky stuff dripping off the rifle. It's not usually good times. Once I get it dry, I actually use some oil. I just use just a base hoop is number 9 without any type of solvent, so it's just pretty much straight up oil. And once I oil it up, make sure that it's all nice and shiny, then I pretty much go one more time with dry. And then once you let all your parts cook for about 20-30 minutes, it's pretty much time to kind of do a little bit of a cleanup of the parts. I mean, you can use a brush or a toothbrush, whatever. I don't like to use brush because like once you get everything really hot, it's actually pretty easy to scratch things up with a brush, unless you have one of those brushes that have like a synthetic plasticky type of brushes in it. But toothbrush works just fine. It's actually for Mosin, it gets into lots of places. It easily gets into the magazine, and it makes it pretty easy to clean off. And then once you work it with a brush, then use a dry towel pretty much to help the drying out process. So here you just pretty much go through every single part. If you see a piece of Cosmoline, then definitely make sure to get it. Even if you don't see it, I would still go with brush a few times just to make sure that you get everything you can possibly get off, and try to get it as dry as possible, just because if there is still some water left, you might have some problems with rusting later on. But actually, to prevent rusting, there's going to be a little tip right as soon as I finish drying them all out over here. So here's actually a good example of some magazine brushing for you. See, the toothbrush just gets everywhere inside of it, so you can get it all nice and clean. Then pretty much run towel through it. Actually, even use toothbrush to push the towel through the other side of it. Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, same thing with the barrel. Just make sure you get it all clean on the inside and inside of the receiver. Once all of the parts are pretty much dry, just spray the crap out of them with oil from the outside, from the inside. Try to get in all of the little creases. Pretty much what that will do, that will prevent it from rusting and put a coat of oil on the inside and outside of parts. So just go as sterile as you can. And don't worry about the inside of a barrel because that will actually require tons of cleaning. But yeah, just go everywhere you can. I use actually Q-tips to get inside of everywhere and just kind of get the remaining parts of Cosmoline or whatever, debris you have in there. Usually it takes, 4 or 5 Q-tips just to get into small parts of the bolt of most in the gun. And for magazine, I actually use just some regular paper towels. They seem to be working really well to get all the stuff cleaned up. And then of course you use brush to some places, like if you find like any spot that's actually sometimes it's just dirt from previous use or whatever, some blowback from previous ammo that's been shot through it, which actually was found on parts of the bolt for my rifle, so I actually had to scrub it with some brush. But yeah, just make sure that once you oiled it all, just get pretty much all of the oil with a dry paper towel, so kind of almost rub it in into the metal parts, and then just go all over, pretty much all over the place. Make sure that you get lots into the receiver. Those sides usually do have tons of Cosmoline and small creases from them, so even once you went with hot water, there is still quite a bit of Cosmoline inside of it. And now the fun part, the barrel cleaning. Usually you would have to go probably at least 10-15 passes for the. I used ram oil for my barrel and got it all pretty nice and shiny. Got pretty much everything out of it, so it looks almost like a new rifle. Once you assemble the rifle back together, this is pretty much what it should look like. So just make sure that you inspect it close, that you don't see any Cosmoline hiding anywhere, that there is no Cosmoline around the bolt area or anywhere on the inside. Everything should look pretty shiny, and it shouldn't have any of the sticky stuff. So kind of run through with your fingers through the rifle, make sure that there is no sticky stuff anywhere left. If you still get some stuff left, then just use some paper towels, Q-tips, whatever, to hard to reach areas over the rifle. Sorry guys if the video went too long. I tried to make it as short as possible, but here is some most important for you guys. Make sure that you subscribe and enjoy your day and stay safe.